Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, martial arts podcast where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends, both old and new. Today is my conversation with Kelly, whom I didn't know, I'd not spoken to prior to this episode. We had a lovely conversation. It gets a little fantastical for some people that are not open to the idea of energy and energy work. I think that the biggest takeaway that wasn't said in this podcast, in this specific episode, that needs to be noted is that we should all approach more things with a childlike wonder. We should approach things very inquisitive, very pleasantly. And if we do that, it opens our minds and it opens our hearts and it opens our bodies up to more options. And then the option exists for you to feel that chi flow within yourself. Then the option exists for you to learn how to control chi. Then the option exists for you to learn how to hit people with chi, which is something that comes up in this podcast. Or maybe the option exists for you to learn how to heal people with your own energy, which is also something that comes up in this podcast. This was a wonderful one. I cannot wait to get a Bagua panel together or an internal art or a Tai Chi panel together and get Kelly back on as part of it. What is at rest is easy to hold. What is not yet begun is easy to plan. What is minute is easy to disperse. Deal with things before they emerge. Put them in order before there's disorder. A tree of many arm spans is produced from one tiny sprout. A tower of 9 stories is raised from a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single footstep. Those who act on things spoil them. Those who seize things lose them. Thus, evolved individuals do nothing. Hence, they spoil nothing. They seize nothing. Hence, they lose nothing. People often spoil their work at the point of its completion. With care at the end, as well as at the beginning, no work will be spoiled. Thus, evolved individuals desire to be desireless. And do not treasure goods that are hard to get. They learn without learning. By returning to the place where the collective mind passes. In this way, they assist all things naturally, without venturing to act. I hope you all enjoy this episode. Keep kicking.
Keep kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. All Coffey leads and the journey begins. fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking, keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends. Today, I am sitting down with Kelly. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Mark. I've been a martial artist since got to do the math. I keep 42 years.
Very cool.
Um,
Got a
and
decade on me.
well, it's been I mean, martial arts, any style you study, any art you study, it's always an interesting road. There's so much depth to the martial arts, and the martial arts community, the way it's grown with social media is also an interesting educational experience.
That is a tactful way to put it. Jeez.
Well, I'm a public relations specialist. My my
Oh,
my my secret identity is as a policy analyst for the last 30 years,
okay.
working on
That's
environmental stuff and First Nation issues.
fun.
Um,
How's martial arts help you with that job?
well, in a lot of ways, actually, the warrior culture in the First Nations is still really, really alive and really, really strong. And it garners me a lot of respect. And I've taught some classes and some workshops in some communities, and I've also done a lot of ceremony. I did for about 12 years straight, sweats, elders gatherings, sun dances. Although I didn't participate myself, and I was just doing the sweats and helping with the sun dance and whatnot. But I've got a background in psychology and religious studies from the University of Winnipeg, and I sort of, I was the one that always wanted to do the sweats and the spiritual stuff. So it's a family business. My mom started it. We've got Mi'kmaq and Wyandot heritage from the
Very
East
cool.
Coast, and my Wyandot ancestors were white tobacco growers for Tecumseh. And if anybody knows who Tecumseh is, he's the one who supported the British in the War of 1812. So there's some very interesting family politics or family history there.
That's super interesting. Where got you started in martial arts?
Um,
42 years ago.
42 years ago, grade five was horrible. I was going to. I'm a country boy. I grew up in the country.
Hmm.
Um, Going to a French Catholic school, and I wasn't French, and I wasn't Catholic, and I was tiny,
Ouch.
and I wore
Mm.
glasses, and I was smart. And so I got picked on a lot. And my mom's dad, who is a big Irishman, my mom's side of the family is big Irish, and a couple hairs away from being full Métis
Okay.
status here in Canada. He was a Golden Glove, so he was like, "We're
Wonderful.
gonna fix this. I'm gonna teach you how to box. I'm gonna teach you how to deal with the bigger guys, with the bullies." And so I went back to grade six, and it took about 2.5 months for the bullies to realize that me putting them down on the ground wasn't a fluke. And after that, I got left alone. But it was my brother and I both learned at the same time. My grandpa taught us both. Even though my brother was bigger and older than me, we were fairly equally matched because we both
Okay.
learned at the same pace and learned at the same time. So uh, we would end up just wrestling on the ground.
Hmm.
And my dad, the good Mennonite that he was, who learned how to wrestle in university because some of his friends tricked him to join the intramural Greco-Roman wrestling team, and
Okay.
they pitted him against somebody that he really didn't like.
Okay.
Very first match, and he won intramurals in his division that year.
Wow, that's
And
cool.
so my dad, he understood wrestling, and he was like, okay, if you guys are just going to wrestle and not box, then you should learn how to do it properly. And
Hmm.
the University of Manitoba here had a really strong judo program. So my brother and I did that for about 2 years. He got hurt, didn't want to do it anymore. And I wanted to continue, but, we were living out in the country, one car family with two kids. There's only so many things you can do on a weekend.
Hmm.
That if, I
Yeah,
mean, if you have kids, you know the logistics,
right.
you know the logistics. Um, so yeah, I learned judo after I learned boxing. And then my asthma that I'd grown up with, used to kill me or almost tried and almost put me in the hospital, almost kill me on a regular
Okay.
basis.
Okay.
Um, got worse. So I went from wanting to learn how to fight to wanting to learn how to heal my body and learn how to make my body stronger. So I did research. I already knew a little bit about, the cultural context of the martial arts, the
Hmm.
Japanese
Hmm.
schools from doing judo. So I was 11 or 12, and my uncle Tim had sat my brother and I down, and we watched Shogun, the James Clavell miniseries about Japan,
Very cool.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's that one samurai who had been adopted into the house, into one lord's house, who had grown up sickly, but
Hmm.
his father had saved the lord and his family from a fire, so they adopted this son, and they started training him, and he learned meditation, and he stopped being sick. I'm 12. I've just had an awful winter. I've, woken up in the hospital like 3 times, and I'm watching this. I'm going, how do you do that? Like, what is that? What is that?
Right.
And I, I started looking into it, and it went from, I also grew up with my mom and dad had books on the shelves. I grew up in a house full of books. Some of them are still, some of those bookshelves are still there. Um, So I had points of reference for Eastern religion, Eastern
Hmm.
culture, Asian culture. My mom and dad were big children of the 60s.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Ram Dass, a lot of Carlos Castaneda, a lot of world religions and stuff on meditation and lucid dreaming. And so I sort of had an idea of where I needed to look. And
Hmm.
so I just did my research. My mom and dad are both history nuts. So they thoroughly encourage the research and the reading. And so I went from the Japanese culture to the Chinese culture, and I found the connection, the cultural connection, the cultural exchange. And I discovered Qigong in one of my searches. And I went, okay, this is cool. And, a lot of it started off as being about healing and, strengthening the body
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, I think this is it. A couple weeks after making that connection, my dad and I are at the University of Winnipeg, and there's a little newsletter, free newsletter, one of those things that just,
Yeah.
well, 20, 30 years ago before smartphones, these kinds of things were everywhere, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and there was a Qigong workshop being advertised. And, I put it down in front of my mom and dad. It's like, I want to go and learn this. And they're like, okay, what is this? And it's like, then I showed them the research, and they like flipped through it a little bit and went, oh, okay, this is interesting. And it was only about like $40. And it was in the
Well
spring.
worth it.
Yeah. Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
Well worth
after my first workshop, like the rest is history. The awesome thing is, like, it was in a little Mennonite community church in the northeastern part of
it. Okay.
Winnipeg. And my dad drove me because, he's Mennonite and he's curious about this little church. And who should open up the door but someone he taught school to 20 years earlier?
Whoa.
Right? Right?
Small
So,
world, no matter where we are in it.
yeah, like 2 degrees of separation here in Manitoba sometimes is just a little
Right.
ridiculous. So they have this wonderful conversation in German, in Low German. I'm standing there, I'm like 12 going, what's going on? And then my dad goes, oh, you'll be fine. I'll see you at 5. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Had an awesome time. The guy that was teaching the workshop was He was a Yang Tai Chi and praying mantis master from Minneapolis. And
Okay.
he also knew some five element. Well, he didn't just know five element Xing. He also taught it too. He was a master in that as well.
Mhm.
And I spent 4 years with this Wudong Qigong group here in Winnipeg, going to workshops like 3 or 4 times a year. My dad would drive me every single time because he got to talk to his old student, right?
Right.
And the rest is history. I never looked back. About a year after learning the 8 pieces of brocade, my asthma was gone and has never come back.
Mm.
I learned some standing stick at the same time. I learned 24 Yang style. And this guy was like amazing. Like he was great. Like the first class, he was demonstrating the differences between the different martial arts that he knew in terms of like the
Mhm.
basic core elements.
Mhm.
And when he did, there's a dragon stepping practice in Shingi, both five element and
Yes.
10 animal. And he had, there's like a room, I don't know, it was about 60 feet across. This guy almost cleared the entire room with one step. Like you want to see, you want to see power. I'm like, yeah, what does that, what does that dragon step thing do? Like, who's like dragon? I'm a kid, right? I'm 12. I'm like, oh,
Right.
dragon
Right.
step,
Right. Right.
whoa,
Right.
what does it do? And he launches himself through the air and crosses almost half of the, whoa, hey, balloons. Wow, that was cool. Um, but and I'm 12, right? I see this demonstration of skill, and I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
the heck, I was sold right there, and yeah, I spent 4 years learning from this group. And again, the universe, when you're on track with something, and the universe goes, you're
Right.
right. 2 weeks after my first workshop and learning the 8 pieces of brocade, my dad takes me to this little store here in Winnipeg called Prairie Sky Books, which is an alternative sort of hippie bookstore. They have
Mhm.
a whole bookshelf just on qigong,
That's cool.
and one of the books has the exact same sequence of the 8 pieces of brocade in it that I just learned. And I was trying to remember. I'm going, oh my God, like, please, Dad, let me buy this. And he's like, and I explained to him, that it had the sequence. He said, oh, okay. This is only like $16 at the time.
Mhm.
So he bought it. And the pieces of brocade, and it also had other practices in it. It was one of Dr. Yang Wing Ming's first publications. Um, and so it had standing stake in it. It had drills in it. It had lots of other qigong, both still and moving. And I read that first book so much, like the binding broke and the glue, like the pages started
Right.
falling out and
Right.
stuff. Like,
Right.
and then so a year after curing myself of asthma, I was just like, what else? I'm like, when I realized one morning that my mom was recovering from pneumonia, my dad's hay fever was going nuts, my brother across the table has got a spring fever, spring cold, and I'm sitting there going, I feel really weird. This is like, I feel completely out of place. And I realized it was the very first spring that I hadn't had an asthma attack. I had basically spent about 4 months of my winter with no asthma attack.
That's amazing.
And I was just like, a couple days later, it hit me. I was like, oh, and it's like, what else out there is there, and what can I learn, and how fast can I learn it, and where is it? Um, so I just started doing my research. It wasn't until I got my license and I was able to drive into the city on my own that I was able to start training in Tenano Mashingi, um, at this one karate studio. The guy had a space, when no one was practicing. So every Sunday for about a year and a half, I go and train in Tenano Mashingi. And when I started going to university in the city,
Mhm.
I learned that there is the Tiger Claw Kung Fu school was just like a couple blocks away from the university. So I'm like, oh my God, like, I did their Tai Chi program, the Yang style Tai Chi program for, like, God, years and years and years. And I wanted to get in, you do your research, you start learning the sequence and the structure of the Chinese martial arts and
Yeah.
what's connected to what and what leads to what. And they didn't have any Xingyi, but they had Bagua.
Mhm.
And I always wanted, I was like watching people practicing Bagua, and the research was all like, well, this is, a very advanced art, a very advanced Qigong system, very advanced skill sets, and it's not taught to beginners. And I'm going, okay, like after 10 years of Tai Chi, and I'd also, at that point, um, I'd also been doing Kempo karate for over 10 years. That I started in high school because there was a school in between my high school that I was going to and my grandparents where I was staying. And just get off the bus, go to class, get to my grandparents. My mom and dad pick me up later, and we go home. So I did Kempo karate for 12, 13, almost 14 years, and I started learning Bagua. I found somebody in the city who was basically a lineage holder from Peijirong's line, and he was teaching the Jiang style of Bagua. And so at the time that I was going to school at university, I was learning Yang style Tai Chi. I was also doing Kempo karate at the same time. And what I realized is the more I did my Tai Chi, the better my Kempo got because I was learning to relax.
Hmm.
I was learning flow and how to consciously step into flow with the Tai Chi. And everybody was like, my stances got really, really good because, you're doing your Tai Chi form really slow. Your legs get really strong and really used to the horse stance. And yeah, so I ended up doing Kempo karate, Yang style Tai Chi, and starting to learn Bagua at the same time. But once I got into Bagua and I had people begin to explain to me the depths and the art of Bagua, and I also met some older guys, basically, who are now my Kung Fu uncles,
Hmm.
who explained an awful lot to me. And I was just like, oh, okay. So, like, I'm in the right place. There's a lot of traditional gatekeeping that happened.
Yes.
So, my teacher was very traditional in that respect. Which I really appreciated because he paired me with a guy who's now a really good friend of mine, who taught me standing stake in the I Ching practice that he got from his teacher in Hong Kong. Um, and yeah, I mean the Bagua just blew my mind. It just blew my
Well,
mind.
so what's wild is how young of an age you started internal arts. Most people don't start internal art that young, like I I'm a little bit of a different situation. I started in Shaolin Kempo when I was 10 years old,
Nice,
and the
nice.
school that I taught, you had after you got black belt, you had to get a black belt in something else in order to get to second degree. And we had Tai
Okay,
Chi
okay,
we had Tai
cool.
Chi in school, Yan style Tai Chi in school. So that was just something that like
Right on.
was easy transition. But like
Mm.
not most people, don't get into internal arts until their 30s, it seems, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, like it's usually like 30s or 40s.
you think
It
that
was really
your healing journey had a lot to do with that, yeah?
oh, absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, I immediately felt better after my first workshop with learning the pieces of brocade and the standing stake. So I practiced as much as I could in those first 2 weeks. I got that book
Mhm.
and I memorized the sequence and I started doing it every day. And I mean, just feeling better, being able to breathe. Like
Mhm.
if having your throat close up and like passing out from not being able to breathe because your body's so tense and having such a triggered response is super scary when you're a kid.
Right.
And the fact that I had like during and I made the connection because during the learning process where you're folding over doing touch and toes nourish the golden elixir to open up the area around your kidneys,
Hmm.
I'd have coughing fits and I'd be like, oh, am I gonna have an attack? Am I gonna like keel over here and wake up in the hospital kind of thing? And then I slowly learned how to control my breathing and control my diaphragms.
Hmm.
And that's when I made the connection is okay, this isn't about just energy. This is a physiological response that I'm learning how to control consciously.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, there's some real mechanics here. There's some like real substance here. This isn't just like some mystical healing art. There's actual physiological structure and mechanics to this but yeah, my healing journey definitely got me so curious and just so interested in Asian culture, Asian healing arts, and specifically like meditation. Because that was like one of the main things. Like you do qigong and you meditate, or you meditate and then you do qigong was sort of like the sequence, in a lot of
Right.
the stuff that I read at the time,
Hmm.
or that I could find and get my hands on, given it was uh, early '80s, like
Right.
40
It's
years ago.
impressive that early 80s you found a whole bookshelf of Tai Chi, Qigong, and such.
Well,
Like,
right? I know. I look back now and go, wow, like what are the chances? The guy who owned the store, he was also huge into karate. So he
there
had
you
a whole
go.
shelf on karate and tai chi and the martial arts. I'm going, oh my, effing lord, this is like awesome.
Right.
What a find. What a like. I'm just like, as a kid, it was my dad had a hard time dragging me out of the store that first time because I just wanted all the books.
Right. Right. That's a bookstore that should be protected at all costs.
Oh, I know. So yeah, like my healing journey really laid the foundation of why.
Hmm.
It really became my why, understanding like how beneficial these arts were, how amazing for health, just health alone, these arts were. And the fact, nowadays, like there's so much literature out there on a lot of things and a lot of these arts.
Hmm.
It's great. It's great. But my journey sort of predates the internet and smartphones and
Hmm.
social media, and it's a completely different perspective. But when I cured myself of my asthma, I was just like as a 13-year old, like knowing that I could go and play with my friends again, go and
Hmm.
play football. I
Absolutely.
love playing football,
Right.
soccer. I mean, I grew up in a rural school where we were playing soccer in winter
Mm.
and football in winter. It's like you just sort of got to watch out because the ball will freeze and it hurts a little bit. Um, but yeah, my healing journey, especially getting myself so connected to the pieces of brocade and standing stake, really shaped how I did my research and what I was looking for after that.
Hmm.
Because I understood the relevance of having balance in the martial arts, and understanding healing arts too, and also wanting to share that
Hmm.
with people. Because my direct experience is just, I tell people and go, "What, you cured yourself of asthma? That's not possible without like drugs or whatever." I'm like, I used to wake up in the hospital under the pretty shiny lights on a regular basis. I think I know what I'm
Right.
talking about.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
so
Do you think it?
everyone's paradigm. Yeah.
Do you
Sure, go
think that
ahead.
your healing journey is what kept you in the martial arts? I ask people that have done it for, decades, what's kept you around? Do you think that that was it, or do you think there's more to it than that?
Um, Short answer, yes. Short answer, yes.
Well,
I'm
it's a
famous
long
for my
form
short answer.
it's a
Last with
long form
man, like
podcast, so
that's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm famous for my long answers. Or someone asks me a
Yeah.
question, people go, "Oh, hold on, oh, back away, back away. Kelly's gonna go off." And that's like one of the things. Like, I love the detail. I love the information. The physical embodiment of awareness is something that has become a very personal path of mine.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, my healing journey has definitely been the main incentive.
Hmm.
Even the basics of the internal arts, the opening and closing of the joints. You practice that enough, you regulate your body, you change the way the chemistry in your body works, the way your nervous system works. You can rewire your entire body. Um,
Hmm.
and I've been incredibly fortunate learning some of the things that I have and having some of the experiences and some of the teachers I've had too. But yeah, my healing journey definitely in the core incentive. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Do you teach?
Um, I do. We do. My wife and I do workshops right now. Since COVID, Haven't had
Very
many
cool.
in-person classes, or people are a lot more skittish about coming to class in person.
Mhm.
I was teaching at Jingwu for most of, well, about 10, 11 years, and then COVID happened. Um,
Good old COVID.
yeah, he was like, and
Yeah.
all that social engineering. Um, so
Right.
I come from a political family too, so
Okay.
my perspective on things like I don't know how much you know about Canada, but our medical or Medicare here in the
Mhm.
province, here in Canada, was first started in a province called Saskatchewan, sort of like out west, and my grandfather helped make that happen. He was an elected representative for about 20 years for Saskatchewan, and he helped our Canadian hero Tommy Douglas
Very
set it up in
cool.
Saskatchewan. Yeah, so Tommy Douglas was also the first leader of the federal NDP here in Canada. So I grew up with my grandpa sitting me on his knee and watching the evening news and telling me who was on which alphabet gang's payroll.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So this is also, a formative aspect of, growing up and learning how to read between the lines or like do your research
Right.
from a completely different perspective. So, and of course, I spent the last 30 years doing policy work with my mom,
Mm,
and you're working in the environmental, the ENGO and the environmental organization field, and working with First Nations, and any work you do with First Nations in Canada is hugely political. So
okay.
yeah.
It sounds fun, but it also sounds a bit tedious.
Uh, yeah, well, oh yeah. I mean, digging through laws and regulations and permits and other things, and doing database work. I love doing the community work. It is amazing building capacity within communities. Is one of the things that we also specialized in was mapping traditional knowledge,
That's
so that
cool.
communities can actually, yeah, it is very cool learning all the stories, where the medicine gathering, the hunting, trap lines, and usage, where you can go back like 5,000 years with some of these inherited trap lines,
That's really
and actually
cool.
being it. Yeah, yeah, right.
Mm.
And with the satellite technology that we have nowadays, it's you can actually map it out very, very precisely, and it's something that stands up at the Supreme Court level.
So
So
this feeds into one of the questions I asked. How has martial arts helped you with your work?
um, mental fortitude,
Mm,
mental emotional fortitude, especially the Bagua. I cannot overstate this enough. Um, the mental and emotional training that you get from, or even standing stakes, Jamjong is ridiculously uh, effective for training mental fortitude when
mm,
you're holding your arms out, in one posture for 10 minutes, and it just hurts and hurts and hurts, but you push through.
mhm.
Mental emotional fortitude, the physical endurance, long days, really, really, really long days. Um, and a lot of emotional meetings, and a lot of emotional pain surfacing in meetings with First Nations, because the generational trauma and all that.
Mm.
And that's my background in psychology and religious studies sort of plays a role there, because I was going to do the marriage and family therapy program, to be a clinical therapist here in Winnipeg, at the University of Winnipeg. So that's where my career path is going, but school politics sort of got in the way of that, and I was just like, you know what, I just want to help people. Like, can I,
Okay.
like, you know? So I didn't end up doing the marriage and family therapy program, so I went to work for my mom, because I was already sort of working for her part time, and she needed help. Um, the discipline of holding space for oneself when you're training, when you're doing forms,
Hmm.
I feel is such an underrated and under discussed aspect of the martial arts,
I agree with that.
because we've got a lot of gurus out there who are talking about like the ego and all this other stuff. I'm like, looking at them going, yeah, but do you even lift, bro? You know, it's
Right,
like
right, 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 right.
looking at you and your little pot belly and your little skinny arms and legs, and you're just like, you've only got this singular aspect of understanding of awareness based on your intellect,
Hmm.
but you don't
Hmm.
understand the physical and the
Well,
emotional
and like
connection.
the 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 understanding that they have is being limited to their intellect is also limited to the capacity that they feel as though they are shedding an ego that they are indeed feeding instead of shedding.
Oh yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
part of the human condition is ego or id, and
yep,
it's our job to nurture that in a way to where I can still be me while also.
yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, and a lot of people will take one facet of understanding the ego, one facet, and then blow it up
Mhm.
in this big, huge school and academy and teachings. And I'm just like, yeah, but then there's the id, and then there's the super ego, and then there's the other things, and then there's the shadow, and then you have the
Mhm.
archetypes and all these other things. Except you're not talking about that stuff.
Right.
You're not even talking about shadow. Like how, if you're gonna talk about actual evolution of awareness and personality, you have to talk about shadow. And if you're not talking about shadow, you're
Right. You're only reading certain chapters of the book, not the whole book.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And thinking you're reading the whole book. Yeah, I know, and you're not. It's like
And
keyboard on
claiming
a piano. You're
mastery.
plunking down one. Yeah, yeah. You're plunking down one
So,
key at it, over and over and over again, and everyone goes, "Oh wow, that's so amazing." It's like, Bach.
right.
Give
Right.
me some Rachmaninoff.
Right.
It's like, except everyone's fascinated by that one little plinky key that
Hmm.
keeps getting hit, and it's like, no, there's so much more than that. People, come on.
Well, the
So
one
this,
thing, that one note can resonate, and like
oh yeah,
there's
oh
validity
absolutely,
in that resignation, but like if you just train this one note, you miss the rest of the keyboard doing
that's
that
right.
analogy.
Yep,
So
yep,
you miss the symphony because you're focused on the one note.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is why I say, like, the space that we hold for ourselves when we're training to form,
Yeah, no, I
for me,
love that.
was a huge key to understanding uh, discipline, my own awareness, mental emotional
Hmm.
stories, paradigms, structural paradigms that were holding
Hmm.
stories, like whole stories together, the cultural, societal, and familial
Hmm.
paradigms. Yeah, like there's so much in just the simplicity of being physically present versus just intellectually present.
Mm.
Because when you can be physically present, you can access all of those spaces and so much more. Because when you have a solid baseline of physical safety with yourself, it changes the way your body works, it changes the way your mind works,
Absolutely.
and what you're actually
Absolutely.
comfortable seeing. People talk about, oh, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Right.
But do you train? Do you train? Do you lift, bro? Come on. It's like, hello. Mm. You know, it's like one of those things. I'm like, look at the skinny arms. I'm trying to believe this stuff I'm hearing from your mouth, but I'm not, because
Right.
I'm not. You know, and I'm an ex powerlifter too, right? So,
Oh, okay.
part of learning how to be strong was like going and working out.
Did martial
And
arts take you into powerlifting or
no, I was just growing up playing D&D and wanting to be a barbarian.
okay, that's a fair answer. That is a
I,
fair
I grew
answer
up
for sure.
being a huge gamer and playing. My uncle
Mhm.
Tim is a huge gamer fan. I played so many tabletop games, and I'm looking at them now, and they're all like console games. I'm going,
Right. Right.
wow, crazy. It's just crazy watching some of this stuff. But
But
no, it
from
was.
asthmatic to power lifter is a pretty successful story, brother. Like that's pretty
Oh,
good.
thanks. Yeah, well, it's where I went because I'm like, watching the Olympics and watching, back in the 80s and 90s when the Russians were, when the Russians were still Russians, kind of Russians, and
Right.
still like, and watching them. destroy the competition. Going, how do they get that strong? How can they move that stuff? Like, what am I watching here?
Hmm.
And just also wanting to get strong for doing the Kempo karate.
You know what though? Even though martial arts didn't lead you to powerlifting, I guarantee all of your internal art experience made it easier for you to get into powerlifting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like the standing stake,
Hmm.
the structural awareness that I had before I started
Hmm.
powerlifting. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like I started lifting weights. My grandpa had a weight bench, the same one that taught me boxing. He had a weight bench in his basement. So I was 12, and I had just learned my first set of qigong, the 8 pieces of brocade, and I'm over there, and I
Hmm.
got my book, and it's talking about other physical conditioning.
Hmm.
And there's stuff in the book about lifting the stone locks the way the Shaolin monks did,
Yeah.
and other things. And I went, oh, okay, so weights, right? So
Hmm.
so you can strengthen your body, you can strengthen your chi, but you can also strengthen your body. And I it really taught me an awful lot about how truly important body awareness is.
Hmm.
Not just as a martial artist, but just as a human being, listening to my body, being aware of my body, and being around other people who are not so aware but are tense and who are projecting their stuff all over the
Right.
place. And you go, all right, my body responds this way. And when you have certain baselines like practice in that space that you hold for yourself when you're practicing, and yeah,
Hmm.
like powerlifting, like those intense moments of lifting 300-400 pounds the first few times, and you go, oh my god, I can actually like do this.
Hmm.
The mental clarity, the perceptual clarity it gives you in terms of what you can do, what is possible,
Right.
you know,
Right.
experiencing
Right.
hearing myself with asthma when people were
Hmm.
telling me it was going to be impossible, I was going to have it the rest of my life. I'm like, where are you? Where are you guys now? This is like I'm 50
Right.
and I haven't had to deal with this for like 40 some years, 48 years almost.
Right. That's awesome. What do you think most students neglect in their own personal training?
Um, self talk, self
Okay.
awareness,
Yeah.
um, and I mean I say this because this is like I started meditating when I was about 8, also
Hmm. Hmm.
because I was like one of the first things my mom said. Oh well, I used to meditate when I was like blah 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 blah, and that was like one of the very first conversations I had with my mom about learning healing. That was her sort of framework from growing up or being a child of the '60s.
Hmm.
Um, Self discipline and self control through self awareness. Um, and I mean, and that's really a journey. It's something that I feel really needs to be learned, because when you
Hmm.
unlock your own self awareness and have that baseline of safety with yourself, you can train harder, you can train longer, you can the relevance of what you're doing and why you're doing it becomes very different than it being about aggression and fighting.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Hmm.
although when I was younger, a certain part of me really appreciated those aspects of training.
Right.
Sparring was always fun.
Hmm.
Um, we we live in a world now where social media sort of dictates what people consider as important, and we're losing a lot of the traditional values. We're not necessarily losing them, but they're being sort of glossed over
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a lot of the MMA stuff going on. And I honestly, if I was younger, if the UFC and MMA had come along when I was in my 20s, it's like I would have been in there. Absolutely, absolutely.
Because you like to
Um,
compete, or
for me, it's not necessarily competing. It's the challenge. It's the personal challenge.
okay. Okay.
Testing myself,
Yeah.
which is one
Yeah.
of the things that I love about Bagua, is because
Right.
it's some of the most
Right.
brutal personal solo training you will ever experience, ever.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's also great as a teacher because it weeds out people who don't want to do it.
Right. Well, and you only
Because
need you,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like I only
Yeah,
need myself. I don't
like
need anything.
jujitsu, I can practice solo, but it's not the same, or
Well, yeah,
just
like
as an
if
example.
you have a sand filled dummy, you can practice moves and stuff like that. Like I yeah, like
Right.
having done judo, it's like with judo, like yeah, you need a partner, which is why it was great, having my brother at the time, even though
Right.
he's sort of, you know, I don't really talk to my brother anymore, but we got
Okay.
to a certain point
Okay.
where I got better than him, and he started, stopped wanting to play.
Well, that's
So
unfortunate, but
yeah,
sibling rivalry exists. So,
yeah. He's like almost 3 years older than me, and he didn't like the fact that his younger brother could, out roll him
right.
and just, because
Right.
I was really small as a kid.
Yeah.
I was tiny. I was tiny. Um, but I'm also me, and I'm a fierce competitor when I get it in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's a
Yeah. But
lot
it
of
sounds like
traditional value.
for you, your competition is, what can I make myself do? Whereas most other people, their competition is like, how am I better than this other person? How can I best this other person? Like
Yeah, yeah,
some.
yeah. No, that's a fair assessment. I when I was doing Kempo karate, like my sensei always was always on my case about you need to be on the demonstration team. You're like
Mhm.
one of our best forms guy. I'm like, okay, but I lived in the country still when I
Right.
first
So
started.
it made it.
Yeah, and then the studio moved, and our sensei, left the country, moved for a job, and there was just like, everything was broken up for a while. So, a couple of the guys and I, we'd get, I'd train privately with them, and there wasn't really
Mhm.
an open school, but it's just like I loved Kempo. I loved the challenge of being precise.
Right. Right. Uh,
And
yeah, go ahead.
yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh man, I just, it's just the challenge of being precise, and either with myself, like especially training applications.
Mhm.
You have to, that care that you have to have, that care and respect that, well, I mean, is generally present when you're practicing, and possibly going
Right.
to harm
Right.
someone
Right.
else's
Right.
body if you miss, you know.
Mhm.
I've had the experience of having people who aren't very careful and who aren't very aware, and training with them and getting injured as a result,
Mhm.
which is one of the reasons why self awareness is like, I remember, I just got my purple belt in Kempo karate, and the guy who had just gotten his green belt, we were changing the change room, and there's all this fear coming out of him, and he was just having this verbal diarrhea after his belt test, and it's like all this fear was coming out. I'm going, okay, you're a green belt, you're like years ahead of me, and you have all this insecurity about your skills, and you just got your green belt. You're going,
Mhm.
where's the mental, where's the discipline, you know
Mhm. Mhm.
and again, like as you said, like a lot of his stuff was based on comparing himself to other people outside of himself. And I was just like, oh, that was one of the moments where I realized how different my brain worked,
Mhm.
and my
Mhm.
perception, like my value and my training really became more evident as being about personal challenge instead of needing other people to validate my progress.
Mhm.
You know,
I remember when I was a young, just starting out martial artist. I probably yellow or maybe purple, and I said I
Mhm.
want Mike Whiting's front kick. Mike Whiting was my
Yeah,
instructor, and he had that just like nice crisp. It would snap,
Chris.
and I'd
Yeah,
say that
those. Yeah,
to Mike, and he would be like, "Okay, sure, go ahead, try." Like just very. He
right.
was
Yeah,
fast by me,
yeah.
and I got to like brown belt, and I was like, "Mike, I got it. I got your front kick," and he's like, "Okay." Okay, sure. And then like at the black belt
Right.
test, you get dog tired and you're doing a kick, and you're like, oh, Mike didn't want me to have his kick. He wanted me to have mine because his doesn't work for me, but mine does work for me.
Right.
Yeah. So
Nice.
like
Yeah,
it took me a minute to get there, but I got to the same space.
yeah. It's, and you're raising a very, very important point. Is those spaces of fatigue that we
Hmm.
most often experience, like when we're doing belt tests, like, because they'll push you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's those moments of fatigue. Like I still remember all of my belt tests, and it's those moments that when I started doing standing stick and when I started doing Bagua, especially, I went, oh, this is like every single time you train is like a belt test because you gotta push through the pain
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
endurance, circle walking, of holding the posture, of maintaining the whole body awareness so that you're walking properly. I'm going,
Right.
all right. Are we sure we want to do this? She's like, yeah, we want to do this because like this is like you see what our teacher can do. Like
Right. Right. Right.
even some of the people that have only been here for 2 or 3 years is like, yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was a huge catalyst moment for me when I realized that was sort of like this very very similar space to like my purple belt test when I would get up every morning and circle walk for an hour. And God bless Coffey.
Good foundation though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I first started really putting the time in, I was in a relationship where it wasn't working out.
Mm-hmm.
We were very compatible on some things, but on other things it wasn't. And she loved the fact that I would just train at home for hours and hours and hours. That I'd just stay at home, right?
Yeah.
So it worked out that I did some, apparently, from what I've been told, some very traditional steps in my training, like the 2 3 hours a day of circle walking.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things. Again, it's the simple, basic. I've had people come to my class and go, "Oh, what's the magic?" Every system's got a secret technique. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's
Just
walk the circle
do
for the
it.
next half hour. Just do it. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And they'd be like, "What is that?" And it's like, you just train. They're like, well,
Right.
that's not a secret technique. I'm going, it kind of is.
It is because of how many people neglect it.
Yeah. It's whether or not you want to know something or actually be proficient in it and
Mm-hmm.
understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. That's
and
well
I
said.
found that, yeah, I found that when I had that locked in and I had that
Mm-hmm.
understanding, it's like I want to be, not just know something. I want to be like proficient in it so that I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And also because I was teaching Qigong a fair bit when, teaching workshops when I started learning Bagua, and I like everything that I was doing was like someone had dumped jet fuel and lit a match. And I was just like, what is going on? What the heck is going on? My energy levels, we have in Qigong, in Bagua, Tai Chi, and Xingyi, we've got the whole concept of Wei Qi, your guardian Qi, or
Mm-hmm.
what happens to how your aura fills with solid energy,
Right.
right? And this is true of any martial artist, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not it's positive or negative energy. Depends on how you use your mind, which is why the self-talk and the internal dialogue is so important, because that
Mm-hmm.
really shapes the type of energy that you can generate and build into your own persona just from practice.
Mm-hmm.
But the space of awareness that I developed circle walking and with Bagua, just again, with everything feeling like, especially the first 3 or 4 years, when I was really starting to put the time in circle walking every day. At first it just started in the morning, so I get it over with. And then once my body got used to it, I was like, hey, like I kind of feel like I could do this, at night too. And then I started doing it morning and night and putting more time in, and my body got, more and more used to it. And I was like, and yeah, the mental and emotional fortitude that you develop through training and developing that
Mm-hmm.
strong baseline, just with just the
Mm-hmm.
simple things, because it's the simple things that have always got like the core mechanics of the entire system in it.
Mm-hmm.
It even made me go back to my Kempo basics and like go run through them for a few years, because I was just like, oh right, yeah, okay, I can see like the progression in the steps and
Absolutely.
training, and it was so much clearer. I was like, wow, okay, this is so cool. Like there's so much in just the basics. And I was going, and that's all I did for like years,
Hmm.
was just the basics, and which apparently is very traditional. And I didn't know that at the time. I was just geeking out because I'd figured
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
out. I'm going,
yeah.
okay, all right, okay, this is making sense. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, all right, because Bagua at first seems super complicated because there's so much whole body movement going on all at once,
Hmm.
and it requires a very specific level of internal awareness and internal dialogue to stay present, and so that you don't forget where you are in
Absolutely.
the form when you're doing it.
Absolutely. What advice do you give to new students, like students that people that are out there that want to take martial art but haven't done it yet? What advice do you give to them?
It's a journey. Don't be hard on yourself when you're learning it. When you're first starting to learn, your ego is going to try and get you to quit because it's you're doing something for yourself.
Mhm.
Martial arts is one of the best things you can possibly ever do for yourself, any type of training, because it'll give you
Mhm.
physical confidence, mental confidence, and emotional confidence. And that's the last thing that your ego wants. Last thing
Mhm.
your shadow wants is for you to be solid and confident and capable and proficient in your life,
Mhm.
in your own practice. For anyone who's starting out in the martial arts, awesome. Like you are stepping into one of the most beautiful worlds on this planet you can possibly imagine. You're going to meet amazing people. You're going to have some setbacks. You're going to meet some not so amazing people, but you're going to find a community that will love and support you because you are choosing to practice an art that people find dear to their hearts and that have helped them and that have turned them into really amazing human beings. And that's the journey that you're
Absolutely.
starting, is you are starting that journey of becoming the amazing human being that you really are.
I love that. Love that, brother. Is there anything that I didn't talk about that you want to talk about? We typically try and wrap it at around an hour.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I was watching the clock too. It's just sort of,
yeah,
what my wife and I do when
it
we do our podcast.
went fast.
Yeah, no, this flew by, man. This is great.
Yeah. You have
Yeah,
a
and
podcast?
yeah, it's called Soul Discovery.
Okay.
My wife and I talk about the effects of shadow work and our own shadow work that we've done like the last 30 odd years. She's an ex Olympic level gymnast.
Very
She's
cool.
also a hypnotherapist. Yeah, yeah. So she started coming to my classes about 13 years ago. She's looking for something different. Four
And she
kids
found
and
it.
wanting to sort of, and she found it. And just after the first year, like how much better her body felt
Mhm.
from having four kids and her energy levels and stuff like that. She was just like, what is this stuff? Like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
And she's also got a background in kinesiology. Like she's not
Okay.
just a gymnast or a mom. Like she's also got like her BEd and her kinesiology and stuff like that. So she started asking like really smart questions, going, hold on a second, where is this coming from? That's a really good question. It's like not many people understand that depth of physical, structural analysis. Yeah, Soul Discovery. Our website, Academy of Embodiment Arts. Um, so one of the things that I do have in my repertoire is the Shaolin One Finger Zen medical Qigong.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is
Okay.
something we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Basically running chi in the body to heal others,
Yeah.
learning acupuncture, learning regional acupressure, origin points, and the cycles of the elements in the body in order to understand how to heal and how to feel and sensitize the nervous system to feel the differences in chi, yin and yang,
Hmm.
in another person's body.
Hmm.
So I had to, again, in Winnipeg of all places, in the middle of like the prairies, what the heck? And I've actually been doing this since, okay, I was living downtown, so this would have been 20, I would have been 22 when I first started this.
Yeah.
Two people in the local symphony one of whom was from BC and had learned from Grandmaster Peng Juleng directly, live in Winnipeg.
That's
And,
wild.
at
That's
the time,
random.
I know, right? I'm like, what? So I went to their first workshop and I was blown away. And it's
Hmm.
completely changed my perspective on Qigong and training. And everything in the advanced levels is all standing stick. So I was like, no kidding. Okay. This is all. I don't know. I don't know how I got through some of this stuff because some of the postures you have to hold for. I think the longest one was about just the posture itself, not the warm ups or the finishing. Just the posture itself was 91 minutes and then you move your fingers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah,
Whoa.
you got like
Whoa.
about, yeah, you got like 3 months to build up where you take 3 months to build up to be able to do just to stand for 90 minutes,
Hmm.
and then you spend a whole month standing for 90 minutes every day. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Not your grandma's soft fluffy qigong. This is like old
Right.
school
Right.
Shaolin and training to be very specific and precise about the meridians that you're working with and how to literally physically upgrade them by holding the postures,
Hmm.
and how this sensitizes your nervous system too. Like in the advanced stages, we do sand training and water training and wood training and bone training to learn the different feelings of the different energies of muscle tissue, the nervous system, lymph fluid in the body, bones in the body, and blood. And I don't participate in certain forums anymore because my understanding of something being internal is very different now.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people talk about the internals as purely just physical mechanics,
Hmm.
which is, well, yeah, because that's where you start. Um, the way that standing stake, and it's just like, so 27, I've been doing this for 27 years.
Hmm.
And I do offer, and in the second level, you learn solar or primordial, where you open up the energy above your head in what people would in yoga would call the eighth chakra. The Taoists call it the soul egg, and it's basically the stellar or the solar access to all of your celestial energy.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I read about this stuff, and my teacher was basically, it was literally one of those things where like, stand across the room and lift your hand. I'm like, okay, all right. And then I had this ice cold dot in the center of my hand. She's like standing there going 30 feet away, and ice cold point in the middle of my hand just like light up from 30 feet away. I'm like, shut the front door. And she's just grinning. It's like, pretty cool. I'm like, really? It's like, here, I'll move it to your knee. Like, cause the center of the palm, the Lao Gong, and all that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's the
Yeah.
center of my hand. Like, I'll move it to your right knee. You got something in your right knee. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. And then it's just like right in the middle of my kneecap, this little bead of cold happens. It just
Wow.
happens. I'm like, excuse me. I just start giggling because my brain's going, this is like, what?
Right.
I'm gonna go find my brain now and squish it back into my head because what the? And she's like, what the heck? And it's like, well, what do you think you were learning? Because I'd learned the first level, and she's like, do you really want to learn the second level? I'm like, and after that, I'm like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's like, you want blood? And I'm like, ready for, like, sign me up. Like, what the heck?
Hmm.
And then she started explaining. I'm going, okay, I've done stand. You're like, okay, I've done. I'm like, I can stand for 45 minutes. She's like, okay, yeah, that's why we do the first level the way we do. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah. Running chi in the body is a lot different level of internal awareness because it really requires going inside and listening. Like, and this is the thing, is like, well, this is why I was talking about internal dialogue in terms of new students. Is like, learn to listen to yourself, learn to understand what you are feeling and why, because this will always come in handy and be necessary when your ego, when your shadow tries to sabotage your training. It's those stories, that hijacking, that always will sabotage your training. And this is I was beginning to understand this with Bagua and the circle walking and listening to the stories and the hijacking. Is like, oh my god, this is so terrible. We got all this stuff. We got these lists. It's like literally in my brain, the monkey mind would go off like a squirrel.
Right.
And then through practice and through maintaining that baseline, it got less and less and less until one day I was trying to remember when the last time it was that I had my brain go off like a squirrel in my practice. And I was like, and I was standing there after doing my circle walking, and my body was like a buzzing, just buzzing. I'm going, I feel like I've had
Mm.
8 cups of coffee. What the heck? And and I'm walking around just super, energized the entire day, and I literally felt like my form, like I literally felt like I was still doing it. And I kept on practicing, but it just like it followed me for days. Like every single time I practiced and I did my form, I would spend like literally the entire rest of the day feeling like I was doing my form. And I'd be in the office at the photocopier and I'd be like, spontaneously sort of like, oh, wait, okay, no, we're not doing spear and head. Okay, all right, we're just
Yeah,
picking up the
yeah.
papers from the photocopier, man. Like, I'm going, my body would do spontaneous movements because I thought I was still doing my form. And I
Right.
sort of like slip into that space and I do like, Blackberry sits down. I'll just be like, okay, it's like no one saw that, right? It's like no one's like, okay, I'm just standing in line for my lunch here. I'm like, no one saw it. So when I started learning the Shaolin medical Qigong, and especially the second level, I thought I'd had like jet fuel dumped on my practice before,
Right.
but this was something else. This was, I still don't know how to describe it, but you want to talk about developing sort of like a sixth sense or other levels of awareness with physical embodiment, physical practice. Like I'm sure yourself, you've
Hmm.
noticed like certain levels of synchronicity or certain levels of
Oh, yes.
like if you're rolling or you're training with someone, you get like that sixth sense feeling of like what the other person is going to do.
Hmm.
Especially if you're familiar with them.
Hmm.
But yeah, no. There's a video on Netflix of the Magus of Java. I think it was Paul Chan, a guy in Indonesia who was doing something very similar to this, where there's a video taken of him, filmed of him, and then he sort of like disappeared afterwards. Um, but yeah, I've had the whole thing of like, yeah, hold up your hand, and like, my teacher basically shooting chi across the room at my body, 2 or 3 points, and I'm going, what? Yeah, I thought this like, excuse me,
Ear-
kind of, you
Earlier,
know,
I talked about, I was in Florida,
yep.
and the year was 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. Some buddies that were martial artists took me down there for it was a Qigong seminar.
Mhm.
And the guy that was doing the seminar, we're on the way down, and my buddy goes, "This guy can hit you without touching you." And 2002, I'm 19. So I'm 19, 20, and I'm like,
Okay.
no,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
cannot hit me without touching me.
Right. Yeah.
Like at that
Yeah.
age, you're just like, no. And so this was a 2 week seminar, and I remember day two, and I was like, respectfully, I've been told you could hit me without touching me, and I am the type of person that has to experience that. So go on and hit me,
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
from that, I learned you can hit people without touching them, and I also learned that if somebody says that something can happen, don't go, that can't happen. I've never heard of that. Go, explain it.
Right.
Tell me
Yep.
about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Exactly. Exactly.
T-
Like I said, it's like, yeah. Yep.
Tell
Cool.
me about
That's
the
a
Tell me about the ancestral energy.
the ancestral energy.
Yeah, what you said.
So
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm a profoundly spiritual person, especially after doing
Hmm.
Bagua and the Shaolin milk. The mm, things that it opens in terms of your awareness, you've read about, but I was actually
Yeah, yeah,
experiencing.
yeah.
So so with the primordial energy, like when you're doing long distance healing with the Shaolin medical Qigong, what you do is you have to have your feet in a certain position to activate the meridians properly, which is the other thing. You're not just in a horse stance, which is the other thing that makes this challenge.
Yeah. Right.
So when you're opening up, you're
Unique.
using your hand. Yes, cook. You're so when you have your hands across from each other, they're feeding the little low level EMF field. And we can get into particle
Hmm.
physics, if we need to, because that was sort of like one of the other things that I did. Is I went, okay, this is okay, energetic particles, science, nervous system, molecules, and there's so what you're doing is you're creating an energetic field above your head that engages this unseen area in your energy field, in your electromagnetic field, the tube torus,
Hmm.
where the tube torus comes out of your crown like it does in yoga, and you have to
Hmm.
engage your hands to the proper position. See, now my hands are just like uh, oh um I don't know if you can, like, they get like super hot super fast,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
red.
yeah, yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're using your hands, you're using your natural body mechanics to
Hmm.
engage the particle physics that your nervous system operates with,
Hmm.
to amplify it by placing your hands. And this is why you do Dantian breathing. This is why you have the palms in certain places doing like this. Is what I learned doing the medical Qigong. Is it's about using the natural mechanics of the body to train and condition the sensitivity of your nervous system to open it up to be able to feel and to understand what you're feeling at the same time. And it's just this very slow, gradual, incremental progression through all the stages. So the primordial energy, like when you engage the soul egg here, what you're
Hmm.
doing is you're basically like the eighth chakra is like the solar gateway to like the divine in yoga.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very much the same thing. Very much the same thing in Taoist internal alchemy. Very much the same thing.
Okay, okay.
And what you do when you engage your hands, and you can feel like when you have the chi running, it's like there is a stick that
Hmm.
locks your hands into position, and
Hmm.
you
Yep.
can feel charge run up your spine. You can feel your body. It's like you can feel your entire system shift gears
Hmm.
into that space. But it takes time. It takes time to practice and to sensitize your body so that you can feel it and then understand what you're listening to.
Hmm.
And yeah, it changed my world forever.
Right on.
I
Do
grew
you
up, yeah.
do you think it's you, or that you're tapping into more than you?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. It's
Explain.
definitely both. Well, first of all, you have to have your intention present in the right way. So this is why body
Hmm.
alignment is important, because it sets the psychological imprinting of that space into your nervous system so that you become aware of that space and you shift into that space. So intention is paramount. And
Hmm.
without physical training, without physical connection and understanding of being able to listen to your body, you don't understand the shape of your intention, the jing of your intention, or what your E in your intention are actually doing. So this is why
Hmm.
listening is so important. Like, it's literally the most important skill anyone can develop, and this is one of the reasons why martial arts just geek me out, and especially qigong, because it is about sensitivity training, and you can take it to depths. So I'm still trying to. There's no bottom.
Right,
There's no
right, right,
bottom.
right, right, right,
I
right,
haven't
right,
found the
right.
bottom yet. So the primordial energy that you access, it kind of, once you open your body up and you train yourself for that, what I have experienced and what I've found is that the more you're able to just allow the energy to move while still
Hmm.
maintaining the focus of your intention and not projecting onto the energy what it's supposed to be, but it's kind of like you ask it to help.
Mm.
right? It's like you ask it to help. You ask, there are prayers that I've learned, there's mantras and other things, and I've noticed that there's a very direct correlation to using mantras and how that energy amplifies as a result. And I've done a little bit of long distance healing, but my teacher a few years ago, pre-COVID, fell and broke her arm. She
Oh,
got these big dogs, and she's a
oh,
tiny lady, and yanked her off her feet, and she fell and broke her arm. And for 6 weeks, I sent her long distance healing. She only needed painkillers twice.
wow,
So
wow.
yeah, yeah. I actually have technology sort of going on the fritz around me a fair bit sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It, it,
Um,
she's too strong.
I just go, yeah, just too sparkly.
Sparkly. I love it. Hey, so a couple of things before we wrap up. We went over, and
Yep.
the conversation is ridiculously interesting to me. I have a young man who I started teaching him when he was little, and he's now grown up and he's become a teacher. And he studies Bagua, and he teaches it. And
Cool.
one of the things this podcast will eventually evolve into is a
Mhm.
group discussion.
Oh,
Like I'm
awesome.
doing
Right on.
the interviews now, but like I would love to
Right on.
like link up with you and him and just let you all talk Bagua,
Oh,
and I
sure,
just
man.
interject energy as I see it.
So the guy
Um,
got it with some questions. That would be awesome. I'm down. Totally down.
awesome. Where can people find you?
academyofembodiment.com.
Okay.
I'm on
Everything's
social
there.
media. Kelly Whelan-Enns.
Mhm.
If you're on Facebook, I'm the guy with the deer horn knives and the.
Right. Right.
It's actually a picture of me from the last Sick Around Worlds International that I went to.
Awesome.
Wanted to pressure test some more Bagua, and it works really
It's
well.
good.
Didn't win the point fighting, but if it hadn't been, if it was on the street, it would have been a different matter.
Right. Right.
And I did my deerhorn knives. So I had a great praying mantis guy there who Jeff Schaefer's. He's amazing martial artist. He's just like, you know what, man? Nobody does bagua at these tournaments. They're not gonna know what you're doing. Just go and enjoy yourself, man. This is like don't worry. I'll be here. I'm gonna love this. This is gonna be awesome.
Right.
And yeah, no, he like I just like and it was true because like the stunned look on some of the judges' faces were like, because it's a Sikron tournament, right? It's
Hmm.
Filipino
Yeah.
martial
Yeah.
arts, and I actually my picture on Facebook is me in Cebu with Chuck Cañete at Doce Perez in Cebu, and the picture of me holding the deer horn knives is with my fourth place little medal for
Right.
participation, right? With my deer horn knives, I'm going, but you know,
It's
um,
wonderful. It's awesome.
so I also offer my healing services with the Shaolin Medical Qigong. And right now, I have a couple private clients online, but yeah, Kelly Whelan-Enns. I'm sort of like unmistakable. My
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm carrying my big Bagua, the Dao, and I'm like walking at Jingwu, so it's hard to
Very
miss.
cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. Like
Okay.
I've been very lucky with my teachers. Like honestly, my first teacher taught me deerhorn knives and Bagua Dao, and then the last 10 years or so, I've been training under Andrea Falk in Magui Bagua. And
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I, it's great to talk to somebody from Canada that is not an Irish stick fighter because I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but Doyle stick fighting, it
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
you all have a stronger Irish stick fighting community than Ireland currently does. I
Yeah,
talked to somebody, and that podcast is actually the one podcast that's coming out this Thursday.
cool.
It'll be out, a month or so since this yours comes out. But
Yep.
and he's like, yeah, no, in Canada there's more Irish stick fighting than there is in Ireland.
There's a lot of Irish. a lot of Irish blood, and well, I mean, half my family's Irish, so yeah, there's a lot of Irish
Okay.
blood. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
my first name Kelly actually goes back to the first line of Kings in Ireland.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. It really was a pleasure.
Oh, this is
It
awesome.
was
Thank you
it
so
was
much.
wonderful. And in having a conversation with me, I have to thank you for being part of my martial arts journey. It means more to me than I could ever express to you. I want to thank everybody that was listening, and as always, keep kicking. Okay. Another one in the books. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there at the end. I didn't mention it at the beginning because it was okay. It wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't really disrupt the flow of the conversation. We were about to wrap up anyway. Um, the internet and technology is a fickle thing, isn't it? um, if you have questions, concerns, thoughts, comments, ideas. You want to call me a prick or an asshole? You want to tell me that I am wrong about everything that I'm doing and every way that I'm doing it? You can do so by emailing me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. Are you a martial artist that would like to come on this podcast and tell your story? I would love to have you. You can email me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. Do you have friends or family that are martial artists? Anybody that you know that would be a good fit for this podcast? They can email me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. Until next time, ladies, gentlemen, aliens, Bigfoot, Nessie, and everyone else, keep kicking.